Good morning and happy Sunday. Have you ever had somebody tell you something about yourself and your first reaction was, "That's not me"? Then months later, you caught yourself doing the exact thing they were talking about? In that moment, you don't usually think, "They were right." You usually think, "How in the world did I not see that?" It's uncomfortable because for a moment, you realized you've been living inside a version of yourself that no longer matches the one that everyone else has been meeting. So here's today's question. Why am I always the last person to see what's obvious about me? What caught my attention about this question is that I think it takes a surprising amount of honesty to even ask it, so thank you. Most people spend years assuming everyone else is the problem and you didn't. And I don't think it's really about missing something. I think it's about discovering that life has been trying to introduce you to yourself for a long time, and you've been using an old picture to decide who you are. Most of us don't wake up trying to ignore ourselves. We simply keep trusting a version of ourselves that may have stopped being accurate years ago. So when I think about this, I think about a husband who sincerely believes he's a good listener. And one evening his wife says, "I don't even tell you things anymore." Before she can finish explaining, he answers, "That's ridiculous." And in that exact moment he says it, he unknowingly demonstrates the very thing she's been trying to describe. He honestly believes he's listening. That's what makes blind spots so difficult. They don't usually feel dishonest, they actually feel normal. The people around us often meet a version of us we've stopped noticing. And it's not because we're pretending or hiding, it's because familiarity has a way of becoming invisible. The tone we've always used, the habits we've repeated, the stories we've told ourselves for years, the reactions we've explained 100 different times slowly stop feeling like patterns. They simply start feeling like us. That's one of the strangest parts of being human. You stop noticing the sound your refrigerator makes until somebody visiting your house points it out. Or you stop seeing the picture that's been hanging on the same wall for years. What about your drive home and barely remember the trip because you've driven that road so many times? Familiarity is quiet. It rarely announces itself. And the same thing happens with ourselves. Maybe that's why so many people spend years asking, "Why does this keep happening to me?" While life keeps offering a bit different question. What keeps showing up wherever I go? That single shift changes the conversation. Instead of assuming life keeps handing us the same problem, we begin wondering what it might be trying to show us. One of the biggest discoveries I've made over the years is this. We judge ourselves by our intentions. Everybody else experiences our patterns. Intentions change faster than patterns. You can sincerely decide today and become a better listener or a more patient parent, a steadier spouse, a kinder leader. And inside, something has already changed. Outside, the people who love you may still be meeting yesterday's version because your patterns haven't caught up yet. Other times, the opposite happens. Your life has changed, your patterns have changed, but you're still defending a picture of yourself that expired years ago. The person you've been explaining may not even be the person you've become. That's the invisible pattern. Most of us are making decisions based on a picture of ourselves that's years out of date. We're living from a familiar one. Those aren't always the same thing. Familiar feels true because we've carried it for so long. Sometimes we're defending a version of ourselves that time has already replaced. This is what ridiculously real mental health looks like here. It means learning to interpret an ordinary life differently. It's recognizing that the conversations you keep having, the conflicts that keep repeating, the feedback you've heard more than once, and even the reactions that surprise you may all be introducing you to yourself. Instead of asking who's right, you begin asking who's repeating. Instead of trying to win every conversation, you become curious about what your life has been trying to show you all along. There's also another side to this that deserves equal attention. Not every blind spot is painful. Some people are the last person to realize how exhausting they become to be around. Other people are the last person to realize how safe they make everyone feel. Some underestimate their kindness. Others never recognize their resilience, their influence, or the quiet way people relax when they walk into the room. Blind spots aren't always about what needs correcting. Sometimes they're about finally seeing strengths you've spent years explaining away. So try having one honest conversation this week. Find somebody who's earned the right to tell you the truth and ask, what is something about me you think I still don't see? Then resist the urge, almost all of us have. Don't explain it, don't defend it, don't correct it. If your first thought is, yeah, but they don't understand the whole story, don't miss that moment. That's the moment this episode has been talking about. Just write it down. Live with it for a few days. Notice which parts of you want to explain it away. That reaction often points toward the very place worth exploring. Maybe the hardest person to meet, honestly, is ourselves. Not because we're trying to hide. Because familiarity is quiet. And sometimes the life you've been living has been trying to introduce you to yourself for years. And maybe today's the first time you've actually been introduced. Thank you for trusting me with this question. If you have a question for a future episode, email me at drshannon@kfvs12.com. And always remember, you are worth it. Lean into being the best version of yourself, one small step at a time. Happy Sunday.